Welcome back to the grid, everybody. I mean, retroactive. Got the sign behind me. Got my identity disc, all that good stuff. So obviously, we have to be talking about the new Tron Ares trailer that dropped. This is a full-length trailer. We're finally getting some story points mixed in here with obviously the awesome visuals. We've got some more music from the new Nine Inch Nails soundtrack that they're mixing in with this new film. Very much blends very well with what they seem to be doing stylistically with this. But let me bring everybody on the rest of my panel here. So, of course, we got Steven and Ashlyn joining me as always. We're going to do a little round robin as usual, just talking about our thoughts on this new trailer, things that we liked, things that we maybe hope to see with this movie, and some concepts that are really stood out to us. I'm actually going to kick things off here. So this is, like I said, the first time that we're really seeing more story-based concepts with what this film is. They've been really keep things close to the vest in that regard. And you couldn't hardly do research on this movie other than the fact that it's like, oh, it's an AI character that comes to the real world as opposed to us going to the grid. Although I do have to say, I did like to see that the human character, the female that we seem to be following with this, does seem like she ends up going to the grid at some point, because we see her on the grid with an identity disc on the back of a speeder and stuff like that. So I'm glad that we're still going to get more than just glimpses from what we can see of the grid and things like that, that it's not all just real world stuff with Tron related items integrated into it. Because as cool as that is, Tron is always about the grid and the virtual world and stuff like that. So if we completely lose that, in my opinion, it kind of loses being Tron and becomes pixels, if you will. with that,
an equally great movie.
Yeah.
An equally great movie.
but we just don't want too much of that. But some of the things that really stood out, I mean, a big one that I'm going to touch on real quick is they finally showed us Flynn returning, and it seems like it's like a hologram. I'm thinking like Ghost in the Machine type of thing, like they've made reference to with Tron lore and things like that. And so he's more of like a spirit hologram essence, whatever you want to call it. It's his Force Ghost for Tron. That he's still a part of it. He's still integrated in some system, which is interesting because it seems like the system that he's standing in, it looks more of the old school, original Tron system than in Tron Legacy, which I thought was very interesting, very cool, because it had that I think it's rotoscope is what they called it. Look to it.
They did the lightsabers in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Had more of that rotoscoping look of the original Tron than obviously the more neons, futuristic coloring of the Legacy version, stuff like that. So I thought that was very interesting to see. We're getting more information about Jared Leto's I was going to say Joker. Oh my God. No, not that. Jared Leto's character Ares with this, and that they're going the whole super soldier approach, and it's yeah, okay, that's been done to death, but kind of makes sense. If you're trying to make an explanation of why this character is coming to the real world, it didn't just happen. They're purposefully doing this because of course it's going to be the military wants this and blah 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 blah. Obviously, hopefully it's a bit more to it than just that surface level type stuff. And I would hope with Tron that they do have that. They usually do. It's, in my opinion, they usually go more than surface level with that kind of thing. But some of the things I'm just going to try and rapid fire so I don't take too much time. Some of the things that I love to see, I loved that little battle sequence between the regular Tron people, kind of like the Legacy looking people versus the Ares Tron people facing off with the identity discs. Again, love that. Love the fact that we're still using the identity discs and things like that. I pointed this out to Ashlyn, but the character, the female lead with this, she has that moment where she like uncovers the Ducati, and I had to go back and like rewind to make sure. I was like, wait, that's not the same bike. It's not the same bike that like Sam rides because it was his
Mhm.
dad's bike and stuff like that. Because I was like, oh my god, is she somehow related or something like that? Like, as I think it was just a callback, is all it was. Because he was, I think he also rode a Ducati, if I have it remembered correctly. So I think it was more just like a callback type of thing. I don't think there's any solid connection in that, but I would love for when, even if it's at the end of the movie, if there's some sort of like tie-in with Sam's character or
Mhm.
and the stuff that they did with Legacy. I think we need to bring that full circle and then maybe have that go forward with, you know, hopefully future sequels and stuff like that with past this just Ares film. But obviously, like I said, I am a massive Tron fan, so I am super hyped for this movie. It looks fantastic. The soundtrack is very like dark and gritty and like very different from what we had with Legacy, which fits, like I said, with what they seem to be doing. I've never been like the biggest Nine Inch Nails person, but for what I've heard so far with just like the initial teaser and now the full trailer, and they dropped a full song today, it's like, yeah, okay, this works for what you're doing. So I'm just beyond excited to see what this movie has to offer. So let's jump to one of our other panelists. I'm going to jump over to Steven. What did you think of this trailer, Bud? Were there things that stood out to you?
I think you hit the nail on the head for everything. Really, like the soundtrack was the thing I was like at first I was like most like interested in because I love the soundtrack for Legacy. Um, and Trent Reznor and has been doing some really cool like he's been doing scores for a while. So I was kind of like, it was interesting that it was Nine Inch Nails specifically, and I was like, that's an interesting like it was a whole band doing it, and I think that's an appropriate since Daft Punk is actually since they're retired. Um, I think it makes sense. I would have loved Daft Punk to do it, but that's an iconic film score. Like everyone knows it, even if you don't know what it's from. I recently rewatched Tron Legacy and was kind of like it was blown away by how good it was, like and what a risk it was for Disney. And I have to say, this feels like an equal risk in a good way. I'm really excited to see what seemingly the good Ares, because it looks like there are the bad Ares and then there's the one good Ares. Maybe I was getting kind of a vibe that there could be like a redemption for him, or when he meets Flynn, like there's like ooh, a program that doesn't want to die. I'm like that line really stood out to me, and he go how fascinating, and I was like it gave me chills. And I'll be honest, like I've always been since I was a little kid, I've always been fascinated by Tron, and it was really interesting in Legacy. But quite honestly, like Andrew's like real passion for it has gotten me super excited for this because it's like it's a cool thing to be a fan, a super fan of something that's not like everyone's a fan of like something that's like super ridiculously popular. But Tron has such a cool fan base of people that are like really obsessed with two movies, a show. Correct me if I'm wrong. There have been some comic representation, possibly, or
Correct.
some
Mm-hmm.
book representation, and for good reason. It's a cool idea. Like it could be such a great and huge franchise, but it's almost better that it's not because they can do stuff like this. And but I agree with Andrew. The whole like it is kind of a cheap writer's thing to fall back on. We'll take this really interesting idea and we'll make a weapon, and that's the story. But honestly, Jared Leto's great outside of the his Joker. To correct Andrew's comment, um, this looks awesome. Like this just looks cool. Super excited to see it. I like the new color scheme. I love that we're going back to the grid. And like Andrew said, I was super worried that we were going to get a full in our world kind of thing for this movie. But yeah, it looks dope. I'm really excited for it. I would almost say after watching Legacy recently, and I think Andrew might agree with what I'm about to say, or maybe not. It almost feels like there will be incompleteness without finding out what happened to Sam and Olivia Wilde's character, or at least a nod and a wink. Like this movie would feel incomplete because they set up
100%.
such a awesome. I knew you would. I knew you'd have my back on this. They set up such a what's next moment at the end of that movie, and I forgot. And I remember it brought back this rush of feeling of I can't wait for Tron Legacy 2 or whatever. Not that it would be Tron Legacy 2, but whatever the sequel to this would be. It never came. And now we're here almost what? How many years has it been, Andrew? You would know off the top of your head. How many years have we
Um,
been? When did
15
Tron
years,
Legacy come out?
like around 15 years.
It's a lifetime for a movie franchise. Like it is. This is a reboot. Like at this point, this is not a reboot, but a requel. Like at this point, we've gone that long. It's not a sequel to Legacy. It seems to follow different characters. And I'm really I'll wrap it up with I really like the actor, the American Horror Story guy that played the killer or the first season of American Horror
Yes.
Story. The weapons, the Justin Hammer of this movie. The like if one dies, I'll make you another one, and it's like it's all cliche and a device just to get us from point A to point B. But yeah, I'm very excited, and one thing that I really want out of this movie outside of the Sam Olivia Wilde stuff, let's bring some Tron back into Tron. Like let's find out what let's address Tron. And I know there's not a big legacy actor tied to that, but I'm kind of like getting there's a part of me and I don't want to speculate. I'm so excited, like Andrew, I'm excited about this movie. I don't want to get wrapped up in speculation about what could be, but I'm getting a little bit of a thing. Like what if this one copy of Ares is actually Tron or something kind of low-hanging fruit like that. So let's put Tron back in Tron a little bit. I love Flynn, love that Jeff Bridges is in there, but let's find out what's happening with the OG. The reason for the season. But yeah, couldn't agree
Yeah, I'm
more with
with
all
you.
your points, Andrew.
I actually,
Mhm.
I agree with you. Like, while I don't know how I would personally feel about it, I could see them going the route of his code was Tron's
Mhm.
code, and that's why he is the way he is, and that was like his base code type of thing, because they're not going to get the original actor back to a third time, especially at his age and everything like that. And they were able to do like the early on, younger thing for like scenes, but it was like from a distance, even more so than what they did for Sam for Flynn and stuff like that.
Are we
Because
not sure Jared Leto's not the same age as the Tron actor? Because he's like in his 50s. Are we not sure they might be the
no,
same
no, no, no.
age? Yeah.
The Tron actor is
Mhm.
much older than his 50s. I can tell you that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he's decrepit or anything like that. He's around the same age that I say he might be a little bit older than
Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, but he's at least the same age as Jeff Bridges, if not older, type of thing. So he's up there. So they're not going to, especially with that level. Like I don't think they're going to go the route of the latest like Indiana Jones and having to deep fake a super young off of a 80-year-old actor type of thing for that particular role, unfortunately. But at the same time, I kind of get it. So you either recast with maybe a person that looks similar, has a similar vibe, or like we've mentioned, maybe it's a source code type of thing, which, like you said, low hanging fruit. But I don't know. I'm kind of like I like it and don't like it at the same time. You know what I mean? Like
I'd be geeked. I'd still be geeked. Like I can imagine how stupidly I would be like, "Who's Tron?"
It's
That's
Tron. There he is.
it's like
It
Peter
is
Griffin.
Tron.
Like they said the name of the movie. Like I'll be like, it's like, not even like super invested, but I'd be like, "It's Tron. It's Tron. Did you see it's Tron now? It's Tron." But,
Let me just show real quick, Ashlyn, before we jump to you. I just wanted to pull this up. Just like now, this isn't like you're not getting a really good look at the bikes or anything like that. You're not getting a super good look at the character, but just the clean look of
Mhm.
this is just it's selling me time and time again. Like seeing like little images like this and things like that. There's things that are I was hyped that this was happening, but I was so nervous. I was so nervous until that first like teaser came out that I'm like, this could go so bad. And I feel bad to say this, that it was because of the casting of Jared Leto and stuff like that. Like, not because I think he's a bad actor. I know he can act. I absolutely do.
Mhm.
But it's when he's attached to big IPs, things seem to go awry. And I'm not saying it's necessarily his fault, but things seem to go awry whenever he's attached to like a big IP or something like that.
Name 5 movies. Name 5 franchises. I bet you can't name 5.
I mean, maybe not 5, but I can name 2. I was like,
I can tell you what Ashlyn sees when she looks at that picture. Do you know what Ashlyn sees?
what's that?
Ashlyn sees future paychecks going entirely to Tron Ares merch and being helpless to stop it. Just like it's like Ashley, it's a 1-for-1 scale light cycle. It'll fit in the living room, and
Yes.
she could get you into Collectibles Anonymous. And like he's got to try. Because
So with
if
that,
they don't merchandise this, I'm gonna be so pissed at them because they under merchandise Legacy. They need to actually merchandise properly.
Yeah, and especially with them having it in the parks here now and stuff like that. If it doesn't have a merchandise push, you'll never hear the end of it from me. But Ashley, let's hear from you. What did you think of this trailer, and what do you have, like, any hopes you have for this movie?
Yeah, no, I was really excited to get the full-length trailer. I thought it looked really good. I do feel like it's left me with more questions now. Like, I like the idea of, like he said, because I think what Flynn actually says is a malfunctioning program that doesn't want to die. So I'm curious to see what the malfunctioning program is. The idea that it could be born from Tron's code. I'm also excited to go back because I just want to see what happened post-clue to the world of Tron. So I'm very excited to go back to the grid and see the fallout from that, hopefully, or not even necessarily the fallout per se, but just like what happened after once Clue loses and everything. So I'm really interested to see that. I'd love for Tron to show back up. That's really exciting. I do hope we get some sort of a pop-up of Olivia Wilde's character in Sam, Garrett Hedlund's character. That would be really cool to just have a quick little scene with them in it. I definitely think, like Andrew said, at this point, like, Flynn's character is somehow the ghost in the machine. That begs to question, like, what happened to him. Like, I guess he got erased in the grid. So it's kind of cool that, like, his essence is still somewhere in that coding and everything like that. And then I would say my only other big question, as far as, like, outside of, like, seeing what happened to the grid after everything in the fallout of Legacy, is how the F did the government get a hold of this technology? Like, what happened? Did they raid, Flynn's arcade and steal the aperture thing and, like, somehow got access to the grid, and that's how they were able to either create the Ares program, is what I'm thinking they did.
Actually, it's super obvious how they did it off screen. They did it in between movies. They don't even explain it because we just accept it. It didn't happen. It happened in the 15 years between movies.
Obviously, Justin Hammer character dude somehow got a hold of this technology, and he's the one who created or workshopped that shit out to an underling that created the Ares program, and that's why they're trying to do this whole Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy thing going on here. So.
Creepy white guy strikes again. Creepy white guy back at the shenanigans.
I do have
always
to say
creepy
that
white dude.
if they don't, as we keep saying, if they don't reference anything that happened prior, like with Legacy especially, it's gonna be a little upsetting because I think that, and now this is even less of something that would be used, but to Ashlyn's point of, like, oh, well, how did they get this? Where did this come from? So this is something that they would probably not even reference or something like that, unless they were willing to go back and kind of reiterate it. But there was a short essentially that was done more as like a marketing ploy, but I believe it was also on the DVDs and stuff like that for Tron Legacy, called Flynn Lives. And it was like the day after, the day after, or the week after, or whatever, like talking about Sam and Cora going out and like releasing stuff saying like Flynn lives and stuff like that. And it's like them starting the process of like what could be with a creation like Korra being in the real world and stuff like that. And it was just literally like a 60-second, maybe 2-minute short type of thing, but it was mostly just the whole like Flynn lives thing. And so I'm not saying that that's what that would be, but it's like, let's, down the rabbit hole, if you will, like if that happened and the word got out or whatever, that, like you said, this aperture exists. So they send the government sends somebody out and they steal the technology or whatever type of thing. But it would be interesting whether it's from that or that's how they at least get the source code or something like that. And that would explain why Flynn returns, how he returns the way he does, why this character could possibly be a variant of Tron or whatever. So there's so much we don't know. And honestly, I'm fine with that to a certain degree. I'm glad we're finally getting some story points, at least, that it's not just all, here's some cool visuals, type of thing. As much as Tron is that, and I love to see it happen, you have to be able to sell people on a story. So even if you're only going to give them a little bit of that, you got to give them something. Because, yes, I understand that, general audience maybe is all spectacle. And that's what they're really pushing for with something like this, because obviously the ones in the past didn't do that great. But there are also, especially nowadays, people are going to be more frugal with their dollar. And so you got to be able to do both. You got to be able to have the spectacle and you got to be able to sell them a story a little bit, in my opinion. So there's a lot to unpack here, and there will be as time goes on. We are definitely going to, keep an eye on things going forward. We're going to try and be there day one for Tron, absolutely. But we want to hear from you guys. What did you think of this new trailer? Are you excited for Tron Ares? Is there anything that you hope to see with this iteration of Tron and everything else going forward? Please let us know. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys next time.